Coming up, we drive the miles so we can take in the events, eat the food, and drink the beer. Buffalo is working on getting back to normal and the sun is out, so let's get out and make plans with friends and family. The Buffalo Brews Podcast semi-annual half-off candy edition starts now. Welcome, everyone. It's Brews Day, and you know what that means. I'm Jason Henninger, your host, and thank you for joining me this week, just as you do each and every week. I hope you enjoyed your Easter holiday weekend and the amazing weather that we had here in Western New York. And to all my Polish friends out there, I hope you enjoyed your Dingus Day as well. Pussy Willows, squirt guns, and polka bands. I dare any filmmaker in Hollywood to come here and make a movie based on that foundation. So I'm sitting here recording this week's opening on Easter Sunday, sipping a Bulleit Frontier whiskey from the Bulleit Distillery in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. It's one of the samples I received in my Volume 1 Bourbons and Rye box from Buffalo Booze Box. You can go visit their site at buffaloboozebox.com to pick up their Volume 2 box today. Bulleit Bourbon, it was inspired by the whiskey that was pioneered by Augustus Bulleit around 1830, which has a mash bill that consisted of the time of a 2/3 rye and 1/3 corn, which today would be classified as a rye whiskey. Tom Bulleit, who is an ancestor, began his version of the bourbon in 1987 with a higher rye consistency. In this case, it's 28%. So you add a lengthy aging process to that with a minimum of 6 years, and then fast forward to 1997 when the Seagram's Company bought the brand and moved the operation to Lawrenceburg, and it's actually produced in the same plant as Four Roses Bourbon, which is the whiskey and bourbon that I spoke of in last week's episode. This is a 90-proof bourbon with a mash bill containing 68% corn, 28% rye, and a 4% malted barley. So that high rye content will give it a spicy character on the initial sip, and the sweeter aroma on the front end as well is a characteristic of that 2/3 corn mash bill. So though it's a smooth wood tone that you're going to taste and the finish being strong, it's an inviting bite that's really dry and it hangs with you. I own a bottle of it myself, but I haven't opened it as of yet. So I'll make sure I post a picture of that on our Instagram and Facebook. So head over, give us a like, give us a comment, and let us know what your favorite whiskey or bourbon is, whatever it's international, made in Kentucky, or even something locally made. So while things are progressively getting to the new normal, that's going to be us in the near future, our schools and education system and high school sports have really taken a considerable impact as a result of the pandemic. We all remember the days when we made the mad rush from work to attend our sons' and daughters' away games, the parking, the finding an available seat for what always seemed to be like a sellout every time you went, perhaps grabbing the folding chairs from the trunk and sliding into the sidelines next to the parents or of your teammates and cheering in unison. And at least for the time being, those days have drastically changed. We lost out on much of high school sports for our children and us as parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents alike that we enjoyed previously. So once the fall and winter sports were able to finally return, we could breathe a small sigh of relief, but we're gripped with the changes where spectators were either limited or not even permitted at all. So many of you were able to watch this season's basketball games on live stream broadcasts for the schools that were able to provide those, which I thought was a considerable step on their part. Now, here we are, we're in a shortened 5-game spring football season in which we're very limited on restrictions as well, where typically right now only 2 spectators per player, but many schools are offering live streaming to their wider fan bases as well. So these are the schools who are really making an effort to include you in the experience as best they can. It may not be the best, but it's something that I applaud for those administrations who can make that possible. With that said, I had a friend of mine the week before last who made a pretty heated statement to me in regards to the 2-spectator rule, and I wasn't surprised to learn that it involved football. He knew that I've been very involved with high school sports and youth football, and have actually gone to school to be a high school football referee. Especially now, how I guess the way he approached it with me is, how could Section 6 put such a ridiculous rule in place, and it was denying people the chance to see these kids play? So I really cleaned up that statement based on what he had actually said and let it process for the moment. I had been in tune with Section 6 sports for years since I left Sherman, mainly after 1998 when I left the military and I was back in the Buffalo area. I felt that it was that Sherman especially had been dealt a harsh blow when they weren't allowed to participate in state tournaments for football when they could for sports such as basketball. So for a few years, the best they could do was achieve winning what was called the Class Double D title, and then they went home, while other schools in the 4 classes in the state battled for another month or more even to achieve the dream of becoming state champions. So in the years after I had returned home, I had written a few letters to Section 6, and I had had a few small conversations whenever I would bump into Tim Slade, who was the executive director at the time, at various football functions, and he always reminded me that he was on Sherman's side as well as the other Double D schools in southwestern New York, but he was essentially had his hands tied at the mercy of the state athletic association. So back to my friend, I let him know that typically Section 6 is at the mercy of a higher power, and in this case here, the rules on the number of spectators is not mandated by the section. It's mandated by the New York State Department of Health. So the rules had just changed, and I had been keeping up with that. And in this case, I wasn't privy to the new verbiage that was being used, because it kind of created a slippery slope, as most things that come out of the New York State Department of Health, their mouth does. So they were stating essentially that the maximum outdoor attendance for any high school sporting event is 200 spectators or 2 spectators per player. So the individual schools, which are identified as the quote-unquote responsible parties in that rule, can dictate how to proceed as long as they maintain a 6-foot social distancing mandate. So the safe approach for any school is allowing 2 spectators per player, as opposed to trying to use the logistics around trying to manage 200 people, and you run the risk of creating more heat among parents. The rest, we have to be really tolerant, respectful of. What other choice would we have as parents and fans, short of causing a newsworthy uproar that would really serve nobody any good? So, there's 4 weeks left at this point of this football season. Yes. Is it ideal? No. Is it awful? Yes. But it is what it is. So I will now take the opportunity to record this segment for a third time. Each time I didn't seem to learn my lesson, as I would be talking and then my phone would ring. The first time I thought would be a fluke. Is Jamie there? No, Jamie's not here. There's nobody here by that name. Okay, have a good night. A second later, as I start recording again, can I speak to Jamie, please? No, there's no Jamie here. You just called me. Well, do you know Jamie? Oh, I know Jamie. Here it goes. Soccer-style kicker, graduated from Collier High, June 1976. Stetson University honors graduate, class of 1980. Holds 2 NCAA Division I records, 1 for most points in a season, 1 for distance. Former nicknamed the Mule, the first and only pro athlete to ever come out of Collier County, and one hell of a model American. And then I realized she had hung up before I finished my spiel. So thank you, Karen. So, in the past few months, I have definitely put some miles on the car, going out to great places to eat, drink, talk with people. A lot of hiking that I have done over the winter and now beginning my summer challenge. But I wanted to talk about an experience that I had recently when I went out to Strikersville to Windy Brew. Now, to get to Windy Brew, you have to go down the 400 to the East Aurora exit, take a left off the exit. It's about 7 or 8 miles out in the foothills, and you'll know you're out there because you see the windmills. And when you get to Windy Brew, you've got this small parking lot next to a home and a garage, and you realize that the garage on the outside is the brewery. But when you get inside, it opens up into this homey restaurant feel, brewery, kitchen with great people and a fun atmosphere. When I got to Windy Brew, I was greeted with a smile by a woman who was to my immediate right. She was at a table with another individual and then an older couple that sat across from her. I went up and talked to the bartender for a few moments, and the reason I had originally gone to Windy Brew was to try their PTSD IPA. And I'm not going to give away too much on that now because there is an interview that I'm looking to schedule with them, but they are incredibly busy and I understand, and we are going to make that happen because there is a great story there to be told. But after talking to the bartender, I did get a pint of the PTSD, which I also saw on their merchandise table. They had a PTSD sweatshirt, or I'm sorry, a t-shirt, which I picked up as well. And then I took a look at their menu to see that they did their own pizzas. So they had us. And after a little while, the woman who was to the right when I walked in the door walked the older couple and her friend out. And when she came back, she started to mingle around the room with different folks that were there. So when I went back up to talk to the bartender for a few moments, he informed me that that was Michelle. She was one of the owners of Windy Brew. So I, not to be rude, I was, waiting for her to have a moment. And then I introduced myself. And then we came over to my table and talked for a little bit. She had been going around the room with an amber colored bottle with greeting guests, and to find out that a lot of the guests that were there were friends and family, and that night was their 4th anniversary. That was something I did not know. So she offered me a tasting of what they had available, and what this was a bottle that they had produced for their 4th anniversary weekend that was coming up in 2 days. What they created was called Thunderstorm Stout, which is a Russian Imperial Stout, 9.8 ABV, and it is accented with cocoa or cacao nibs, depending on how you pronounce that, and vanilla bean. And then they aged that in bourbon barrels that they got from the 5 and 20 brewery located in Westfield, New York, down in my old stomping ground. So when I took a taste, very malty, bourbon on the nose initially, and a great bourbon flavor on the first sip, very inviting, and I knew that was going to go very well. If they had been selling it that night, I would have taken a bottle home with me that night. It was certainly tasty, and I definitely wanted more, but I wasn't going to be greedy. So Michelle took time to talk to me a little bit about their operation, and she was apologetic the fact that her husband couldn't be there that night. So she was telling me some background about their brewer and her husband. She said either or to be able to talk to about things there. So I would definitely encourage you to take a drive out to Strikersville, to Windy Brew, and definitely try a flight. Definitely try a few of the beers that they have on hand. They were serving 4 that night, but by the look of the board, it looks like that they have about 10 to 12 different beers that they had on hand. So I definitely encourage that. And Michelle, thank you very much for sitting down and talking with me, and we will be out very, very soon. I have mentioned the Totally Buffalo store a few times on this podcast, and I can't encourage you enough to get out there and check the store out for yourself. It's located on Sheridan Drive in Amherst next to the Walmart, and they just this past weekend wrapped up their outdoor Easter artesian market. I had the opportunity to get out there myself and check out some of the new work that was there, and some of the artists were in the shop actually restocking their wares because they were so busy and having such a high turnover. I thought that was fantastic. While I was there, I had an opportunity to finally find a design at Traveling Growler that I could settle on. I have a growler that I wanted to keep cold every time I would fill it, and found that Traveling Growler has a scuba weight neoprene material, great stitching. It's not cheap commercial garbage. It's strong, and it will keep your colds cold. So the design I settled on after a conversation back and forth on Instagram with them is called the Hoppy Buffalo. It's green, the buffalo that's shaped out with beer hops. So that is mine, all mine, and I love it. While I was there also, I picked up a printed pint glass to add to my now growing collection of pint glasses. I also got a refrigerator magnet in Easter colors that has small buffaloes on it. And on a previous visit there, I picked up a set of neoprene coasters from an artist, Bill Battaglia at Modern Decay Studios. I really love the work that he does. If you go on their website at moderndecaystudios.com, he does a lot of modern and urban work on reclamated wood. The question that is always curious for me when I talk to an artist is I always want to know, is it the idea that comes to them after they find the material, or is it an idea that they have and they're just looking for the right material? So I've always wanted to ask that question. But definitely check out those tables there, and also looking at the table for Western New York Beer Trail. Got a chance to stop and look at the Easter baskets that they had there, and one of those lucky buyers got a golden egg that got them a free T-shirt. So I wonder who would that be. So definitely get out and check out the Totally Buffalo store. If you didn't get a chance to go out for the artesian market for Easter, don't worry. They have one coming up for Mother's Day. Apparently these are such a success now, and they had so many people in the store and so many great artists on hand. I myself am going to go back out there because I want to see what's new. Every time I go there, there's always something new to check out. So, Totally Buffalo store, Sheridan Drive in Amherst. Now, switching gears, we just got done with April Fool's Day, and I trolled around quite a bit on Instagram looking at different posts from businesses that I talk with and I follow, and one of them I have migrated to over the past few months is Main Street Ice Cream in Hamburg. I love ice cream shops. I love what they bring new and exciting to the table, and it was one of those cases where I thought that an April Fool's Day post was an actual April Fool's Day joke, and the joke was on me. Let me explain. So they posted that their mystery flavor was going to be smoky bacon ice cream. I commented to them, and I said, hey, you fooling Clark, because if it's for real, I'll be out there and I'll buy 3 scoops tonight. I find out that's in fact true, so I drive out there. I get my 3 scoops. I met the daughter. I apologize. I forgot your name. But I did meet Randy, who is one of the owners there. And Randy and I are going to have a little sit down and talk about their business. Get out to Hamburg, because the main drag there in Hamburg has so much to offer. Right across the street from Main Street Ice Cream, you're looking at Butero's. You go up about 200 yards up on the other side of the circle, and you're looking at Juicy Burger. And then another 2 miles up the road, you'll end up at Hamburg Brewing. So after I got my ice cream, I took a few photos. Oh, I also bought one of their ceramic ice cream bowls, which I added to my collection of everything Buffalo here. And I make my own ice cream. I'm not shy to say that now. So now I have a ceramic dish that I can serve it in. So thank you to Randy and you folks there at Main Street Ice Cream. We're going to be talking very soon as well. After I got done eating the ice cream and experiencing not 1 round of ice cream headache, but 2 rounds of ice cream headache because it was that good. Imagine a vanilla ice cream, and you're looking at the ice cream and it just looks like vanilla. You don't see anything in it. There's no chunk of anything. There's no fleck of anything. But when you taste it, it is all smoky bacon flavor. What a home run. I like bacon. I think you know I like bacon. So it was a win-win for me. After I got done with the ice cream, because I had dessert first, I took a trek up the road to Hamburg Brewing, which I had never been to before, and I look forward to going back to in the summertime when they have the beer garden open out back. I went inside, talked to the bartender there for a little bit, and kind of got a lay of the land about how things work there. I love the layout of the place, very open, inviting, almost like a hunting camp feel to it, and got a table there, and I had a beef on wax sandwich with a side of chips, and I decided to try their apple cider, which I enjoyed. Didn't feel like doing a flight that night, but when I go back in the summertime, I'm going to definitely partake in some of their flights there. So I want to thank Hamburg Brewing for the hospitality and a delicious dinner and a tasty apple cider. We know that Mother's Day is coming up next month, but that doesn't mean we can't be shopping for Mom now. I already told you about the outdoor artesian market at the Totally Buffalo store. But some other locations that are going to be holding events includes the Shopping for Mom at the Wurlitzer event in North Tonawanda. That's going to be at the Wurlitzer building on Sunday, April 25th from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. Now, the way I've seen that event usually run, because they do get a large number of people who will show up for it, is typically there will be a line that will be out the door, and once they hit capacity, they let people in as people leave. And it's a very thorough operation that they run there. They've had it for a few years now, and the vendors that they have in there are they're plentiful, they're popular, and there's a lot to offer. So if you go there, the parking is aplenty, and just be prepared to wait in line for a little bit if it's busy, but not to worry, because once you get inside, there's definitely going to be a lot to check out there. Who remembers the Lakeview Village Shops in Olcott? It was a small village setting that was set up along the water in Olcott that had these kind of tiny building shops that looked like essentially a miniature village. So last year we didn't have it because of COVID, and there was a big deal about the fact that they were smaller buildings. Obviously, businesses couldn't operate at all during the pandemic, but they're going to be back for their opening weekend, and this will be their 30th season coming up on Saturday, May 1st and Sunday, May 2nd. That's going to be from 12 p.m. until 6 p.m. each day, and that's located in the Lakeview Village Shops. The address is 5955 Ontario Street in Olcott. So that's about 25 miles from the Buffalo, probably the North Buffalo area, Amherst, Cheektowaga, from where I am located. But I plan to go up there because I've never been in all the years that I've lived in this area, and I'm actually going to go check this out because I think, if anything, it's going to be great for a photo moment. But I want to see what they have up there to offer. So that's the weekend of May 1st and May 2nd at the Lakeview Village Shops in Olcott. Growing up, my mother really didn't understand my knack for British humor. And one of the programs that I used to watch a lot on television is Monty Python. Never understood why I liked it so much, and one of the movies I always gravitated to is a cult classic known as Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So at the Screening Room Cinema and Arts Cafe, that's located at the Boulevard Mall, and I think, if I remember right, that's only an exterior entrance. Although it's part of the mall, you can only access it from the outside, so I don't think it's in the mall itself. This Friday at 7:30, and again Saturday, next Tuesday the 13th, next Thursday the 15th, and next Friday the 16th, all with 7:30 times, you'll be able to go to the Screening Room Cinema and Arts Cafe and partake in a British classic, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's a comedic send-up of the Middle Ages that's told through the story of King Arthur, and it's framed by a modern-day murder investigation. When the mythical King of the Britons leads his knights on a quest for the Holy Grail, they face a wide array of horrors, including the persistent Black Knight, a three-headed giant, a cadre of shrubbery-challenged knights, a perilous castle anthrax, a killer rabbit, a house of virgins, and a handful of rude Frenchmen. So Monty Python and the Holy Grail helped to define irreverence and became an instant cult classic. So they're going to be showing that at the Screening Room Cinema and Arts Cafe those nights that I mentioned before at 7:30 p.m. each night. Next Friday on April 16th, they are going to be doing a trivia night that goes with the movie as well. So the tickets are $7 each, except for next Friday's event, the trivia night, which is $10. That is something I might very well check out. Get some folks together to enjoy, because I have a fountain of knowledge when it comes to that particular movie. That'll be a fun time. Monty Python and the Holy Grail on the big screen at the Screening Room Cinema and Arts Cafe at the Boulevard Mall. So many great things going on around Western New York, and so many great conversations that I'm having with a lot of you on social media and through email. Thanks for the time that you're giving me to go over details and to set up interviews. To you, the listeners, the followers, and the faithful, we will soon be bringing great interviews to you to highlight businesses, bars, restaurants, wineries, all the best that Western New York has to offer. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform and hit that subscribe button. Share it with your friends and family and coworkers. You can email us at any time. As you know, I love talking to all of you. And in the meantime, join us next week and go out there with much peace and love. And remember to make your own path. So long.